Hi everyone, I am here with the lovely and talented drag king of New York and Long Island. So my first question is, what is your name, stage name, and preferred pronouns?
My stage name is Makon Mayhem. That's what I go by these days. My preferred pronouns are he, him in drag and she, her out of drag. But honestly, if you just call me, I'll answer. Fair
Is that
enough. Yeah.
right? Next question. What are your origins of your drag name and how did you start doing drag?
So the origin of my drag name came from how I started doing drag. Ironically, I'm a musician and I play in Long Island theater pits. If you don't know what that is, it's when you go to see a show and the sound comes from somewhere and an orchestra usually provides that. So I play a couple of instruments and they needed a drummer for a show called Prospero. And everybody in the pit was male except for me, and they were doing fabulous makeup. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool if I dressed as like a guy but did really cool makeup. And then a friend of mine said, oh, do you do drag? I was like, I could give it a go. And I did it. And the show was set in New Orleans, and Macon is a Southern name. And I was like, okay, so I like that name. And I was like, what would go with it? What would be a cool alliteration? I was like, Mayhem. I'm always causing trouble. So Macon Mayhem works.
Love that. Next question. What does pride mean to you and how are you participating despite the limitations this year?
This year, I am taking part in a drive-through type parade in Babylon. As far as participating in any events, other than that, I've given to a couple of charities like the Trevor Project to just try to help LGBTQ youth. Other than that, this year it's kind of unusual. Everything, there are new rules and regulations, so everything's a little. We're learning new things, so I think that that's the best that I can do this year so far. Who knows? Maybe something else in the next week.
No, I totally wait. Am I muted? No, I'm not. I totally get that. Next question: what can we be doing as a community to create a more inclusive space for LGBT people and drag community?
More inclusive space. Um, I think in general lately, we just need to be kinder humans, more accepting all around. I was really proud. I hosted an open mic at a little cafe locally, and we started to feel like a small little family there. And it didn't matter whether you were gay or straight or where you sat uh, on gender or sexuality. It, as long as you felt comfortable, you were included. And I think that all around, that's the way that it should be. I think that the world would be a better place if we didn't look at someone's gender or sexual identity or skin tone or where they come from, and we just accepted them for who they are. We'd be so much better just to get to know somebody on a basis of who they are and what they have to offer the world, rather than just narrow your view. And I don't know, I think it's a very myopic way to look at things, and you don't get to really know everybody. So I think that if people were a little less judgmental, we'd be good. Yeah. And in the drag community, not many kings get jobs. It's kind of, I'm one of the unicorns in the crew. Um, so if the drag community would be maybe a little more open to understanding that drag is an art form, not necessarily just for gay men, that it's for trans people as well, that it's just an art. I usually say drag artist, just because it's an art form. It's the equivalent in my eyes to cosplaying. You just lip sync while dressed fabulously. And if you want to do that, have at it. I think it's fabulous. I think it's a really cool thing to do. I mean, I think cosplayers should get involved too. If you have something to offer and it's going to be entertaining, I think by all means do it.
Totally agree. Next question. What are some common misconceptions or things that people don't really understand about the drag community that you'd like to talk about? And how do those things make you feel?
Um, Common misconceptions. I'm often asked if I'm transitioning, which is interesting. That's it's a huge misconception. I don't know why. Also, I also have just outright been asked, what is a drag king? So that's a pretty big misconception. Um, I think that people should be more open to there being straight people who perform drag. I know straight people who perform drag. Yeah, I think that that's a huge misconception, is that you have to be LGBTQ to perform drag, and that it's not. Sometimes it's gender expression, sometimes it's just plain dress up, but it's fun nonetheless. I think that that's a huge misconception.
Yeah, something that you just brought up about art being a drag being an art form. What makes you so passionate about this? Like when you are performing, what is that like rush, that high, or that excitement, that feel like for you?
Um, there's a freedom to it that I never thought that I would experience. The first time that I performed drag, it felt like I was performing. Every time I perform drag, I'm in a character. I'm not me. I'm very much an introvert, like, believe it or not. But when I put on the makeup and you're hiding behind this mask, and you're able to do things that maybe you otherwise wouldn't feel comfortable doing. But in the moment, I was like, this seems like a fun thing to do. I have no idea. I would never in my regular life consider doing that. But it seems like you have this ability to express yourself in ways that you normally wouldn't, and tap into parts of your ego and your personality that are just left dormant. So I think that that's what gives me the rush. Definitely. That definitely gives me a rush.
Yes. Sorry, my brain is hurting right now. Ignore me. I am listening. I'm not active listening. I am listening. Yes. So next question is, since American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Long Island chapter, is advocating for mental health to start the conversation, how has mental health impacted your life?
I personally, I have not struggled, thankfully, very much with mental health issues. However, um, I know people around me very close to me who have. My brother struggled for many years, with mental health issues. My partner for many years struggled with mental health issues. So I understand the need for the stigma of that to be removed. That's another thing. Um, there is such a stigma about talking about health and talking about mental illness and neurodiverse people that has just, it's got to go. It's done. It's old hat. Um, if we could get beyond that and have a better understanding, once again, of people and not label them so much, I think that we'd be better off. And I think that um, talking about things like that and talking about prevention of such things is a remarkable thing to do, because it's in a moment taking away the stigma of, oh, this is something we shouldn't talk about, which is a big move forward considering where we have been. And I think as long as we take steps forward and we don't go backwards, we're better off in the narrative in the whole way.
Oh, yeah, love that. I love that answer. Also about mental health, what are some ways or your favorite ways of practicing self-care? Like,
So
because you and I karaoke, we're karaoke king and queen.
I love to sing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, of course. So that's a big one. Yeah. If you can express yourself and you can find an outlet, I like to call it outlets. If I'm having a day where I'm like, oh, it's just, we're stuck in the house, it's COVID, everybody gets moments where they're like, oh, it's just not today. Today is not the day. Um, Finding a creative outlet for me is the best way for me to promote a good state of being. Whether it's singing, it's dancing around my kitchen to Lady Gaga, who's to say? I will admit to that. I will admit that I have grabbed my makeup case, smeared makeup across my face, and have interpretive danced to Pink's Try around my household. It's true. It's true. If you could get that visual for a moment. Yeah, no, I think that any way that you can express yourself is a good and healthy outlet for your feelings and your emotions. Definitely playing instruments, definitely singing, doing drag, even just painting my face and not going anywhere or doing a gig. It's something that I find comfort in and something that absolutely calms me down.
All right, I have two more questions for you, Makon. Is there any positive message that you want to share with our followers watching today?
Yeah, I think that as far as everything that's going on right now, if you look at the scope of the world and the timeline of everything, it's a blip, it's a blink, it's a moment. And if you think of the world in little moments, it's gonna pass. I know that right now for everybody, mental health wise, it's a hard time, it's a trying time, but we're gonna get past it. And as long as we have these, we're so lucky to live in a digital age where we can actually reach out and I can talk to you and we can text people and we can, we're not in the, 1600s where we need a carrier pigeon to say, I'm having a day and it goes off. So I think that in that, even though we're dealing with all of this, there are upsides to it that you have to look at. And honestly, I find my sense of humor just gets me through whatever. So if you can laugh to tomorrow, laugh. If you need to cry, cry. Just know that tomorrow it's going to get a little bit better than it is today.
It certainly does get better.
Yeah, of course it gets better.
No matter how much of a cliche it is, but yes, it does get better.
It really does. It really does. And I can say that being a 40-year-old, like it gets better. It gets better.
Right. My last question, but there are also many questions I wish I had time to talk to you about. But where can we find Makon on the socials? And anything you want to plug?
Oh, sure. Well, I'm honestly probably not plugging anything. No, I have a pretty open schedule these days. Thank you, COVID. If you'd like to book me. I'll Zoom you. You can find me on Instagram. It's at Makon, Makon, Mayhem. I do not have a Facebook. And everyone's all on me about it, but I don't want a Facebook. I think Instagram's good for me. So I have that, and I have a TikTok. It's Mak0n Mayhem.
Okay, well, yeah. So I'm very happy that I have talked to Makon Mayhem today. And also, I want to remind our followers that in the comment section, we're going to have all of these toolkits, resources for during this time. And I just want to say that you are loved, you're not alone, and we love you. No matter who's telling you whatever you think that you're not valid, you matter. You matter to all of us. And I wanted to say Pride is not canceled this year. It may feel that way, but it is not. And we are all stepping up. This year is a year of advocacy. This year is a celebration too, but it is, talking to people, embracing people. And then with that, I wanted to thank you guys for chatting in with us. Bye, guys.